Today I'm gonna review the negative space images. I made a whole video about negative space a couple of weeks ago and asked my subscribers to send me some negative space images. And yes, I did get 34 images. So this video is going to be quite long. And I hope you find it useful. There's lots and lots of information about photography and about how you can get to be a better photographer. I'm Peter Forsgaard, an Olympus visionary from Helsinki, Finland. I remind you to... Let's get into the images. Okay, here we are in Lightroom, and we'll start with Moises Baez's images. And there are 5 images that he sent, and these images look really great. And there are a couple of images that are maybe not negative space, even though they are great images. But let's start with the bird photograph first. And this image is one of those images that are maybe not really negative space image, but it's a beautiful image, and the quality on the screen is a bit low because it's only 600 by 400 pixels, the size of the image, so we don't judge the image by that. And what I like about this image is that you can see the shape of the feathers on the bird and the shape of the bird and the contrast with black background and the purely white bird. It's really cool. And usually a black background is not that appealing to me, but this image, it works really nice because of the contrast of bird's color and the color of the background. Yeah, this is well done, really nice. Now let's go to the next image. Okay, this one, to be honest, I don't know what this is called in English. I'm sorry if I don't know everything in English, but this one is a negative space image, and I like the composition. It's a classical one. You know, 1/3, or even though it's in the middle here, and I think it's fine. And I like the shallow depth of field and the little dreamy effect on this one. It looks a bit unsharp, but I don't think it is. But it's because of it's a small size image, and the colors are really nice, and I like the color of the background. It very nicely goes with this, and then the white part here. And always remember that. And what we see first is the white part, or the lightest part of the image, and also the sharpest part. So if there is something sharp and light, we usually see that first. So try to have your main subject in that area where there is light and sharpness. But I like this dreamy image and the background. It's really nice image. And this one is on the edge. Is this a negative space image or not? Maybe it would have, if it had more space up here, and maybe cropped. Let's try to crop it and see what happens if we crop the image a bit. And let's make it custom and cropping this image. Oops, not this way. We gotta open that. Oh, right, now we're talking. This could be more of a negative space image, just to crop the bottom, and this would also give more attention to the bee or whatever it is. And the flower, and this one is really nice. I like the colors of the image. This is really nice colors, and the contrast with the green, and then the kind of like the blue here, and then the bee or whatever it is. But I would say that the cropping maybe could be like this. But let's go back to the original like that. But I think the crop version would have been a bit better and more of a negative space image. Okay, this is a really classical negative space image, and what I like is this cropping here, because it's not very conventional. Usually you should leave some room here, but that kind of makes it interesting because it's kind of like a mistake, which makes it interesting. And when I say mistake, I'm not saying that it's wrong, but it's an interesting way of cropping image and very unconventional way, even though this is got the leading lines here, and then you have the surveillance scam too. But this one is like the also the lines with the clouds here. This is kind of cool, even though it's a bit crowded image. But anyways, I think it's. Well, you should do. Let's try to crop this one a bit too. Would have this been better? No, maybe not. Maybe not. Yeah, it's the original is better. It's better. Gotta say that it's better like this. Okay, this is a very classical also in negative space. It works really nicely, and I like the shape of the apple and the structure on the table here, and then again a black background, which works with this image really nicely, and the composition is really good. Let's see if that could have been just a bit this way. I don't know, maybe not. Well, it's a matter of taste, so I'm not saying that it's a little underexposed. Let's see what happens if we increase the white. No, maybe a bit brighter could be better. But that's always again a matter of opinion. But usually when there is as close as white, this one is. Let's see if we can so that the histogram goes all the way up here, but doesn't go too much in the black, so we don't crush the blacks. And if we open up this, could also work a bit if we open up this shadows a bit, and then I don't know, vibrance maybe. Well, I don't know, it's going to be a different image. But yeah, this goes with the negative space really nicely. But it was really nice done. Thanks for the images. We have one image from Julia Deal, and this is a water tower that is located on the property of an abandoned factory, Julia said on her email with the image. And this one, yes, it is. Very good example of using the negative space. And I would crop the image a bit. I usually like to crop to be a little tighter. And if we go this way, and this could work, but the problem with this is that when we're cropping it, kind of loses the front stuff here, because I like this shiny thing. I couldn't really figure out what it was, but anyways, it kind of makes the image more depth to it, because you have a front and then you have the middle and then you have the background here, and then of course this is the negative space around this. This is the main subject, but somehow I just like this. This might be a bit distracting, but this area is really beautiful. I like this one here, and I hope you, Julia, you took an image of this for somehow. This is really interesting place. But otherwise, let's see if we could open up the shadows a bit. But this would lose the appeal. I think it's very good, but if the front is dark, it makes it even more mysterious. And then because this front isn't very nice in this way, so I would rather not too much. Maybe there should be a bit things being seen, or the surface of the rocks or whatever it is, bricks in an old factory. And yes, I do like it, and I like the way that it's black and white also, because then the colors won't distract the quite abstract. And I also like the direction of the sunlight. It looks like it's coming from down here behind the scrap, what's in the front. And then I like this one here. It's the lightest part of the image actually after this, and you can kind of like see this. First you see this, then your kind of like vision goes through here, and then you can see this, and then you kind of realize and see the whole image, and I really like this one. And let's see, maybe a bit of contrast could make it even better. It would darken the sky a bit, and it would even more focus the point on this one. There could be a bit more on over here, so leave this one dark and open up that a bit. Could work better. Oh, sorry, it wasn't totally. And sorry, this tool what I needed. And let's see if we darken the front. Yeah, maybe this way it could be even better. Always when I do this is my opinion based on my way of seeing images. And everybody you can disagree, and please tell me if you think that the original was better. But I think this is so interesting that it could be lighter, and that's why I wanted to make it a bit lighter. And this is the original image, but okay, this front is pretty cool structure or whatever. But this original one is very good, and yes, like Julia said, this one has negative space. And thanks, Julia, for sending the image. And then we have an image by Mika Storm. He's a Finnish Olympus photographer. This image was taken with EM5 Mark II with the 12-40mm f2.8 Pro lens. And yes, it's definitely negative space. And in his email, Mika was telling that he wanted to leave this sky here, the horizon to see, so that the image would have more kind of like air in it and it would be more open. And I agree. And we could test if we crop the image a bit. Let's see what it looks like cropped. If we crop the sky out there. I think Mika is totally right. This is better. There is more air in the image, and this actually makes the negative space use really nicely, because you have this very small part of the image which is really important, with the red shirt, which is really great because of the contrast to the blue sea. And then you have probably a fisherman. It looks like a fishing net. And then you have the vast, really big sea, and it kind of like symbolizes the kind of like the smallness of a man, of a fisherman. And hey, thanks Mika for the image. It's really nice. 2 images from Ken Whitehead. And thanks Ken for sending these images. These are really interesting images. Let's start with the first one. Definitely negative space. Of course, we cannot really see the original cropping because of the black background that I have on my Lightroom. But this is really interesting. I'm not really sure if this is a composite image, that horse polo players are from a different image and there is the ball. But this is a really interesting image, and the contrast with the players and the background is huge. And usually the problem with sport images and images like this, where there's a lot of crowd and maybe there are other players in there, that would distract the composition. But I'm not really sure if this solid background works this way as an individual image. But inside a magazine or a website, when this image is used in somewhere, this black background could actually be a really good choice. But I'm not really sure in this way when it's just a single image. But this one really is good with the black background. Yeah, background. Black background could call background. Yeah, sorry, it's a background. And I like the shape, and the direction of the light is perfect because it makes the shape really nicely on this one and then on this one. And it's really nice flower. And this reminds me of Robert Mapplethorpe. You probably have heard of him and his pictures of flowers. There's something about it, this image, that looks the same. He usually had a lot of black and white images. Like this could probably be more like Mapplethorpe, when you have a black background and a black and white picture. So this could be one way of doing the image. And then this one also lacks a bit white pixels, so could be a little wider, as you can see from here. But then what about the negative space? Yes, definitely it is. So it's well done because it has the negative space. So thanks Ken for the two nice 2 images. And then we have one image from Anastas Tarpanov. Yet another very classical way of using negative space, and very well done. I really like that there's one bird that is flying out. And I like the high contrast of the image with the totally white background and the black bird, and it's kind of like a silhouette, and it's really nicely done. And as I always said, that you need to have enough white in the picture so that the histogram hits the edges on both sides. Here's the blacks and here are the white. And as you can see, this is totally blown out, but it doesn't matter. It fits in the image. You don't need any shades of gray or shades of blue in the background. This way it works really nicely. And to get the result like this, you need to know your exposure and how to expose your images so that it's easy to then in post just to make it look even better. But a very nice image. Thank you so much for this. 2 images from Jani Honkala, also from Finland. And here has this color picture, and then there's the black and white. But let's start with the color one. Yes, definitely negative space. Immediately I would go and crop it to be a lot closer, because this is interesting. Let's see if you crop it like this. This is the interesting part. Look at this. There is the reflection of the scene, and then it's almost like you have probably heard of these glass ball images where you have a totally round glass ball which reflects the scene, and then you have unsharp background or nice bokeh on the background. But this is really interesting, and even closer, something like this would work even better. Maybe the background isn't that nice because I like this part here. So maybe let's see if we could take some more from here. Let's see what this would look like. Could this be too much? Maybe, yeah. This is a hard one. It's not easy. Let's see this way. No. Maybe something like this. This could work. And then, as you can see, there's not the white part is a bit to get a bit brightness, and then you can see it starts to get overexposed. Then we just take the highlights a bit down, and if we want to make it more silhouette, maybe we could have some more black here. And this color image could have some vibrance, or maybe not. This is just me. Sorry. But this is a really cool image, and I would crop it a bit more tightly so that it would get more attention to this, and then you have this beautiful negative space around it. This is a beautiful image. But as you can see, this much. Oops, not this way, but that's how much I would crop it. And let's go back to the original image. All right, now we have it here. But it's a great image, but it needs a bit of post-production in my opinion. And let's see what the next image looks like. Okay, now we have a black and white image. And sorry again, this is a very common flower in Finland and probably anywhere else, but I really don't know what it is in English. And this one needs a more white, and we could go all the way back here so that when the red starts appear, then we go a bit back and get rid of it. So it's a bit overexposed there, so maybe we go back a bit. But yes, definitely. Negative space, and I like the bokeh balls in the background. Maybe this one could be cropped out, maybe, or is it too close? If we could crop that out, I don't know what this would look like if we crop this like this, and then maybe get rid of that. I don't know. I'm not really sure if that's a good idea. Let's go back to the original, or okay, this is the original. Not much of a change with my post-production. But yes, and these kinds of images, even though this is a quite close-up image of this, and still in close-ups you could still use negative space, and it makes a really interesting images. But as I said, this one here is a bit distracting. I like this, and usually when you take images like this, then the direction of light is very important, because look at this, you have the light coming from behind, so this is almost a silhouette, and then you can see this tiny line of white here. That's the light that it separates this part of the flower from the background, and then you have this in the middle, or not in the middle, but almost in the middle of the white area. So this is the place where we actually first see, and I think it's in that way it's really nicely done, and I like the composition, maybe a bit tighter, but otherwise it's really a great image, and definitely yes, a negative space. Well done. This very interesting image from Gel Schütt. In the email, Gel said that the painting was left there because it made the image more interesting, and yes, that's absolutely right. If we start to crop it, it's still an interesting image, but it's kind of empty. This way it's a lot better, and I would probably take the like this, so we don't have the dark corner over there, which is a bit distracting to me. Take that away and then leave that. But this is because if you start looking at this image, the composition is totally wrong. But it doesn't mean that it's not interesting. And this is what I love about photography. When you do things exactly the way you're kind of thought that which is the right way of doing, then the images are nice, but they are not interesting. Not necessarily very interesting if you do everything by the book. But when you start breaking the rules and doing some crazy compositions, you can make some really interesting images. And this is one of those interesting images. And then you have this kind of distracting structure on the wall, and because of there's a light source here, and it makes the light and shadows make all the really great structure on this image. And then you have the dog. Usually you should leave some room in front of the eyes, or where in this time the dog is watching. So everything is kind of wrong, but that's why this is really nice image. I really like this image. The focus is a bit too much on the wall. It could have been on the dog, because the dog looks to be a bit unsharp, but otherwise this is a great image, and definitely a negative space. Yes, totally negative space. I really love this image. And then we have two pictures by John Milke, who is from, I think it's Montana, USA. And these pictures are from Norway. He was on a trip in Norway. And he wanted an opinion which crop is better, the horizontal or the vertical. What do you think? Please tell me in the comments. Looking like this, definitely both of these images are negative space, especially this one. I like this image better because this has the feeling of height more than this one. Even though this is maybe a more of a negative space image, but this one has, it looks like these guys are higher, or these tourists are higher, and you can see the height of the place. In here, the height does not come so obviously here. So in my opinion, I like this one better. But let's check out. As you can see, this, as he said, he was really lucky that there are these people in this, and I agree. This, without these people, this image would not have been so interesting. And I really like the smog, or smog. It's not smog. It's actually clouds, and then there is a waterfall down here. And I like this water on the railing here, and you can see that it's very wet because of the way they're wearing their clothes. But let's see this one. As you can see, you can really sense the height of this place. And what I would actually do, I would try to take these people from this image and place them over here, because I like this guy leaning on. I don't know if that's something that you want to do, but I would. It's not because this image is not a documentary of certain situation. It's just a documentary. You've been there, and it's a documentary of the place in such. It's not a documentary of these people being here. And yes, as I said in the beginning of when I started looking at these images, I prefer this one, even though this one is a bit more negative space, but this one is interesting because of the sense of height. We have this image of barnacle geese by Mark Chambers, and I believe this image might have been taken in Scotland, because I think that's where he's from. But it's a very, very beautiful image, and I just love the composition of this image and the use of negative space. And this way, the place looks huge, and it's like, it looks like a desert, and then you have the blue sky. Maybe the color of the sky isn't at its best, and yes, the image might need some more black, or maybe not. I don't know. Maybe this one is actually better. Maybe a little bit brighter could work better. But I really love the way these birds are here, and where they are like positioned in the frame. And then you have this really vast area where the depth of field is very narrow, and it goes all the way up here, and then you have the sky, and you have some clouds there. Just a remarkable image. I really like this. Very well done, Mark. And this image is from Isle of Skye in Scotland, taken by Doug McKillop. And this is a really, really great image. And negative space is really nicely used on this image. It's really great. And what I really like about this is that this ship has red sails. It actually makes the image. The contrast on the color contrast here is totally great. And this is what he said in his email. And I quote Doug: "I have always liked it, but without quite knowing why until I saw your video." So he actually liked this image, but didn't really know why. And that's really interesting, because there are lots and lots of images that I've seen, that I've taken, that there is something that I like about them, and it's very, very hard to explain what it is that makes the image great. And it's always really important to try to understand why I like the image. And that is something you should always do. If you have an image that, hey, I like this image, then start thinking, why do I like it? And of course, if there's some image that you don't like, then start analyzing it, why you don't like it. And that's really important in way of getting to learn photography, is to analyze photographs a lot. And then it's really nice that there's the horizon and you can see the sky. It makes the background bigger, or the space is bigger when there is some room in the top. It's really important in an image like this, in my opinion. But yes, really nicely done. And then one thing that I need to mention here is the different shades of this water, which is also one big part of the image. Very well done. Very well done. And then we have 2 images from Pauli Araneva. He's a Finnish photographer, and I'm surprised that he didn't send any images of cats. And he's a great cat photographer. He takes a lot of images of cats, but this time we have some birds and some guy on the street. But let's start with the birds first. And definitely, yes, negative space. And this is actually what Finland looks like, or it has been a couple of days now. Now it's sun is shining today, but this is the way it looks in Finland. And yes, look at these 2 birds trying to find something to eat in the snow, but they probably did find something. But yes, negative space, really nicely done, and I like the snow that's falling, and you can see the snow in the here because there's a black background or a dark background here. Very nice composition too. You have 2 trains here, and then you have the people, then you got the 2 birds. And the only thing is that my eyes are wandering a bit all around the image. Even though this is sharp and this is the white area, this is also too white, and it's a bit distracting. But as I said before in this video, that distracting images are always interesting because you start thinking what is the thing that distracts you, and you start looking at the image. And that's why I really like this image, because of the a bit distracting background. But yeah, this was a good image. Good job, Pauli. I like the bird pictures more than this one, even though this is a nice and very classical street photography image. And as you can see, it's very well exposed because of the histogram hits the both ends, and there's not much to do. Well, this is a matter of taste too, if you want to make it a little bit darker, but otherwise this is really good, and black and white works very well with this. And then what's really nice about these images, this kind of images, is that you start wondering about who this guy is, what's in the bag, and what is there a camera there, is a tourist, or somebody just sitting there, or waiting for somebody, what's going on in the image. And that's always a good thing when you start asking questions, what's going on in the image. And that's what I like about the images. Then of course, is this negative space? Yes, in my opinion it is, because of the empty space here. As I said in the video about negative space, that it does not have to be empty. There can be structures and things, but that are not too distracting. But these kind of adds to the story. It looks like an open square or something like that. Then you start wondering what's back here. But yes, this one also very good, as I expected when I saw that Pauli sent some images. Good job, Pauli. And then we have 3 pictures from Marvin Backhaus. He's from Germany. What I really like is that this image is taken with EPL3, which he says is his first proper camera. And just looking at these 3 images, negative space, definitely yes, and that's really good. But let's see this image as a bigger one. And there's something that about this image that I would love to try is to, let's see if we rotate it right. This could work this way also, but I like the way that it's originally this way, because this is not so obvious, even though this is probably a building and there is really big part of the image is blue sky, but this is really nice and graphical image and perfect exposure and everything. An interesting image. And so is this one. This is maybe a bit too far to the right. This could be better if it's probably hard to, yeah, you cannot actually do it. But if this boat could be or was over here, this could be a bit better. Of course, then it would have been really the classical way of doing. Now there's a little bit of a disturbance because it's on the side. And as I said before in this video, that a bit of a disturbing composition, a bit of a disturbing thing in the image makes it more interesting. And so in that sense, the place is all right. Maybe a bit more clouds or a little bit more interesting sky could have made this image even better. And the waves in the front are really good. And these are also places to have a longer shutter speed. But of course, I think this one is taken from another boat. Then probably there wasn't a possibility to have a longer shutter speed. But let's see what the exposure-wise this image, maybe a bit more white. And then taking the highlights down so to get some interesting structure in the sky. And let's see if the dehaze, yeah, well, maybe it's breaking the image a bit because it's a JPEG, so you cannot do that. But otherwise, yes, negative space definitely. Then yet another negative space image. Pretty empty place. This reminds me of the picture with the geese in the front. And this image also could have been a bit better if there is something in the front. Now it's just a landscape, which actually reminds me of Alexander Gursky, I think it is, yes, who makes images like this that sell very, very high prices. He's very famous photographer, so you might want to check him out. Maybe this, is it a plane? Or, yeah, it might be a plane there. This is a bit distracting, this line here. But I don't know if we could take it away. Would that image be a bit better? Let's make it a little bit smaller and let's see how it goes. We take that away and yeah, I don't know. Maybe it is. Is it? I'd say that it is. It's a small thing, and if you have an image that is a kind of like a piece of art or just a snapshot or it's not if it's not a nature photography, strictly by the book done nature photography without any post-production at all, or is it a journalistic image, then of course anything like that you're taking elements out of the picture is not in the question. You cannot do that. But if it's as I said, an art piece or a picture for yourself or it doesn't have a documentary meaning, then taking off something like this, it's not a problem in my opinion. I think you can do that. But let's see how this image would affect if you have dehaze. Maybe a bit of dehaze would make the sky more interesting. Then I don't know, it might be too much, then the sky becomes the subject, and I don't know if that's a good thing. Maybe we could take that a bit back and see. And also in these kind of images, it's very important to have a straight horizon. You cannot have it just slightly tilted. It has to be straight. And there's also a very good tool in Lightroom to do that. You just grab that and then you just make that should be straight. And yes, it is dead straight. Very good. And I really like those images. And keep up the good work. You had some nice images here. And definitely negative space. Really beautifully done. Thank you so much. And then we have two images from Taipei by Lee Troy and taken with a mobile phone. As you can see, the image quality is quite nice, even though they've been taken in the dark. But of course, if you look the image in a big screen, the quality, of course, isn't as good as with the regular camera. But usually pictures taken with the phone are seen from a small screen. And as you can see, when the images are small, there's no problem with the quality. But of course, bigger image, then you can see that the quality isn't that good. But we don't care about that. That was just an example of how the mobile phones are really capable of making images in hard conditions too. But this image is a really nice image, but I'm not quite sure if this is a negative space image because there is too much here and not so much in here. And I mean, or actually this negative space isn't big enough. But let's see what happens if we crop the image a bit. I'm not sure if it's wise to crop from the sea, because I like the reflections on the water, and an image where you could have these on the top and then more down here with the reflections could have been a bit more interesting image, and also could have been more of a negative space image. Otherwise, this image is totally fine like this. And then let's take the next one. All right, this is taken from another high building. The same problem with this concerning the negative space, that it's not really a negative space image. It should have been more of the sky or more of the black, and then you can see the lower part of these high rises. But let's see what it looks like if we could make the vibrance a bit more. Yeah, this would make, when you have some vibrance on the colors, you get more yellow colors here. And let's see what if we could lower down the highlights. It makes it even more intense. And then if we could add some contrast, this could probably work. It actually, when you darken the image, it takes out of the noise that the phone image has. Let's check out and compare. This is the before and after. And I think this is more interesting image right now. And then we could play around with the color temperature, too yellow. And this could probably work too if you make it really blue. But then you introduce some noise there, which this one would look better, and then could work really, really nicely. Even though you don't see details in here, but it's dark, you don't need to. And you have the nice colors on this building, and I like the yellow colors on the buildings now, or the windows, and the neon lights are more yellow. And I think it works better than the original like this. But it's an interesting image, and cityscapes at night are I really like those kind of images, because I like the cities, and especially when you have all the artificial light, it's so cool. And what's good about this image is that the sky is not totally black. You still have some light here in the horizon, then you got some light on the clouds probably from the light pollution, or it could be the sun that is setting down there. But as I said, not necessarily an image with negative space. Otherwise, yes, very nice. And these images are by Edgaras Usas, who is from Lithuania, and it's really great to have pictures from the Baltic countries, very close to Finland. Really nice places to visit. And he was asking that if this is a negative space image. He wasn't really sure. And yes, kind of it is, but I would say that this background could be a bit bigger than. And before I started to record this, I did try a few different compositions on this image, cropped it a bit, and something like this could be more of a negative space image. So in this case, which is funny, because usually, like I said in the video about negative space, that you should go further away from the subject. On this one, I would still go a bit closer and get a kind of like a a detail from the picture. And I like the water drop here, and there is some reflection in it, and then you have the white tip of it, and this would be the negative space. But yes, you're in the right track. And the other way would be, okay, this is a little overexposed, but we don't. Well, maybe we could take it a bit back, and then we could add some dehaze. Would make the colors pop. So this definitely needs some post production. But otherwise, this is. Maybe I went a little over with this, but you get the idea that a bit more of colors, and see that the histogram is here. It's a bit dark. Let's go back with this one and see. Let's see if we can add some vibrance anyways, because there's some nice colors here. But this is the interesting part of the image. And of course, this also looks nice. I like the dreamy effect that it gives when you have the highlights in the back. And this is also an interesting part. I would say that there are two images in this part for some cropping, and then you have this, and also this probably a spider web here, which is really interesting because you have the strong light here, then you can see them because the light is behind, and same thing with the water drop. Let's see the next image. Not this way, no, because we have. Now we can check out the next image. Yes, and this one is really interesting, and I love the face of the cat and enjoying really. I wonder why it's not playing with the Christmas tree. He's just enjoying her or himself here. And this one too needs, I think, maybe a bit of black, or not really sure. Maybe the cat needs some contrast. If we could, yeah, because it still lacks a bit contrast. Let's see if this one helps. Yeah, it does. And maybe I would only have some more contrast on the cat, because this one actually looks pretty nice. The same thing with here. I don't think there is enough negative space to consider this to be a real negative space image. But otherwise, as an photograph, this is really cool image. And I just love the cat, and the colors are really, really nice. And that's why maybe adding the contrast doesn't make the image any better. But I don't know what the image would have looked like if it was only like this. Maybe this could have been more of a negative space image, even though there is some information quite a bit here. And then of course to crop it like this, you need to get rid of that, because that's a distracting element in the front there, or in the side there. But the image like this, because you have the tree here, and this would make more concentrating on the cat. And like this is a beautiful image. And now the colors that are a little faded looks really, really cool. And let's see if we can lower down the clarity a bit. It looks even more dreamier. This could be another option on this image, but I always like to play around and think about what do I want when I make image. And that's something that you guys should do too, because it's kind of like a negative when you have a raw image. You start tweaking around and cropping maybe a bit and But of course, cropping is something that some people want to do. Some photographers want to do it when they make the image. But I usually start to think about different kinds of crops and playing around with the colors, with the contrast. And dehaze is one of my favorite tools because that can usually kind of like sharpen pop up the image a bit better. But yes, as I said, a bit of cropping on this one too would make this a beautiful image of a cat, and with some negative space. So in this case, I advise you to go a bit closer, even though with negative space I told go back, but this time maybe a bit closer. But very nice cat though, and I always appreciate when people send cat pictures. They're really nice. Then we have this nice lighthouse image by Derick Hopkins. And I have a thing for lighthouses. I don't know why they appeal to me, and that's why I like this image. Even though I would crop it a bit tighter and then I would straighten the horizon. It's not straight. Now it's a bit better. Let's check. Oops. Let's check it with this this tool. And okay, now it's straight. And then I would use dehaze and make the colors to pop out a bit more and see how the white balance. No, that doesn't work. It's kind of dull. I like this a bit of yellow cast, and then if you want to make it a bit darker, just introduce some black more, and this way it would pop out more. But of course, it depends on what you like. There's nothing wrong with this, even though I would straighten it up a bit, because this is also it's a bit hazier look with the image, even though I would straighten it up because that bothers me a bit. Now it's a little bit better when it's straight, is it? No, it's close enough. And I like the color, the red color here. So otherwise, it's just a matter of opinion how to correct it in post. Yet another very nice negative space image. Thank you, Derick. And then we have this beautiful mushroom image by Holger Berg from Germany, near Heidelberg. And very, very good use of negative space and very nice use of depth of field. You have a nice background that is blurred, that gives all the attention to the mushroom and to the leaves in front. The composition, totally right. You have the horizon kind of over here. It's the sharpest area in the picture. Then you have this that rises up from the horizon. And you're pretty close enough, but still far enough so that there will be enough negative space. Let's see what happens, because you can see the histogram. There is maybe not enough white in the picture, so we could see if this could be better. This is a matter of opinion. I would see the image like this to be totally bright. Maybe take the highlights down so we could get the details in the mushroom a little bit better. I'm not quite sure. I would probably to have some more white and then maybe do some vignetting. Not this much. No, not this much. But something like this, a bit of a vignetting. And then maybe having so that there is some white, more white over here, and then maybe a bit darker here. This would even more bring up the beautiful mushroom here. And I really like these kind of images. This is kind of like a close-up image, and it opens up a totally new world when you go close to subjects. And I really like this image. Very, very well done, and really nice use of negative space. A beautiful image. Thank you for this. Then we have these 4 wintry images by Chris Maidanchuk. Really nice and beautiful images. And right now, when you look at these images, total understanding of negative space. And let's start with the first image. I just love this. There's snow inside and again, no idea what the plant or the flower or whatever it is. And really nice. And I like the composition. There's something disturbing the way it's here. I would have said that it should be over here. And that's why this image is very interesting. And we have a negative space in a close-up image. Very well done. And let's see what the next image looks like. Okay, yes. A lonely tree in middle of snow. This is really cool. I would probably try to get rid of this because this is a bit disturbing. On the other hand, this is kind of like a line or leading line towards the tree. And then I like the shape of the tree. It looks like it's really windy and it's walking against the wind, the tree. And it's an interesting image. Even though this kind of scene is not very exotic to me because it could be in Finland somewhere, and it's a black and white image. And the funny thing is, actually, if this was a color image, you wouldn't tell. And this, yes, works really nicely. Now let's check out the next one. And this is really nice. This is really nice. This is almost like the background has been cut out from the image, but it probably doesn't. It is snow in here. Yes, you have a barn back there, and then this is probably a road between the trees. Really nice. Probably a big mansion somewhere around there, and a really nice image. This one could actually be a bit better with a bit more contrast on the trees. There is some kind of like a dull grayness on the trees too much. Now we're getting overexposed down there. Now it's a bit better, maybe a bit too dark here, but the idea to introduce a bit more contrast, and let's see what maybe dehaze could do, and let's see what happens if we bring down the highlights. No, it doesn't work, and of course it's a JPEG, so we don't have that much information to work with. Yes, a really good example of nicely done negative space image. This is kind of a big cliche, this image. These kinds of images we've seen tons and tons. I don't mean that it's a bad image, it's a good photograph, and I would maybe crop it a bit so that the horizon would be down there. Let's see. Not really sure. Let's see what happens if we introduce more black and then a bit more white. And let's see. This probably would not. No, it's better. Let's go back a bit and then see what happens if we make it even more brighter. And let's bring down the highlights a bit. Yeah, and some contrast to the image. Yes, as you probably figured out, I usually love to have a bit more contrast in the images, but there's nothing wrong with this one. This works nicely. I don't know if this is ice or water. Let's see if there's any information on the exposure. It's an 8-second exposure, yes. So most likely it's not frozen, the water. It's just because of the 8-second exposure. It's totally still, and it looks like it could be frozen. But yes, yet again, very, very nice negative space image. And thanks for these images again. The last image, but not the least, it's from Nicholas Lancaster. And he says in his email when he sent the image that it was taken with his phone. What I like about this image is that photography is all about seeing and looking around, observing where you walk, you can see interesting thing. And I think this is an interesting thing. You have a small leaf in the picture, and then you have the cobblestone. It's not a cobblestones, I don't know, but this stone pavement or park or whatever this place is. And yes, there is a negative space around the leaf. What I would do with this image is that I would try to do something to get this even more popping out. And one thing could be that not this much, but a bit more saturation and a bit more color in the image. Let's see why it does. Okay. And then maybe a bit dehaze. And one good thing is that we could try to make more saturation. Oops, not the luminance. The saturation. And try to, yeah, this could be. And then maybe lower down the saturation on this one a bit. Then this could be yellow. But okay, this is also a matter of taste. There's nothing wrong with this image. Let's see what the white, if we introduce a bit more white there. Yeah, this could be a better. But of course, there's nothing wrong with this. And yes, as I said, negative space, really nicely done. And what I like about the image is that you have been looking around and seeing things and making a nice image. These kinds of images could make a series. You know, take 100 of images of leaves that are on the ground, and then you could have a really nice series of really cool images. But hey, thanks Nicholas for this image. Okay, this was this Tuesday's video about negative space images, and if you haven't seen the negative space video yet, please watch it from there. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.